The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across East 12th Street in Kansas City, where the contrast between gentrification and urban struggle painted a vivid picture of modern America. This particular stretch, just 3 blocks from the Hope Community Center, had become an unofficial gathering place for the city's homeless population, a fact that didn't sit well with some of the area's newer, wealthier residents. Travis Kelce pulled his modest Honda Civic to the curb, the vehicle's understated appearance a deliberate choice for days like this. After years of community work, he'd learned that showing up in expensive cars or flashy clothes often created barriers with the people he genuinely wanted to help. Today, dressed in worn jeans, a simple gray hoodie, and old sneakers, he looked like any other Kansas City resident running errands. The trunk of his car held the real treasure, dozens of care packages he'd assembled personally. Each bag contained warm socks, hygiene items, granola bars, water bottles, and hand warmers, essentials that most people took for granted, but could mean the difference between comfort and suffering for someone living on the street. "Mr. Travis," called out Marcus, a 62-year-old veteran who'd been experiencing homelessness for the past 8 months. Despite his circumstances, Marcus always maintained a dignity that reminded Travis why this work mattered so much. "You're early today," Travis grinned, hefting several bags from his trunk. "Coach gave us the afternoon off. Figured I'd use the time wise." He handed Marcus a care package and a folded $20 bill. "How have you been holding up?" "Can't complain," Marcus replied, though Travis could see the exhaustion in his weathered face. "Sarah's been having a rough time, though." "That cough's getting worse." Travis looked over to where Sarah, a woman in her 40s, sat against the brick wall of an abandoned storefront. She'd been on the streets for nearly 2 years, and Travis had been quietly helping her apply for housing assistance and medical care through various city programs. "Let me go check on her," Travis said, grabbing additional supplies. As he approached Sarah, several other members of the community gathered around. There was James, a former construction worker whose injury had led to addiction and eventually homeless. Maria, a single mother who'd been evicted and was struggling to get back on her feet. Each person had a story, a dignity, and dreams that circumstances had temporarily derailed. "Hey, Sarah," Travis said softly, kneeling down to her eye level. "Marcus mentioned you haven't been feeling well." Sarah looked up with tired eyes, but managed a smile. "It's just a cold, honey. Don't worry about me." Travis wasn't convinced. He'd learned to read the signs, and Sarah's pallor concerned him. "Listen, I've got some throat lozenges and cough drops in here," he said, opening one of the care packages. "But I also want you to take this." He discreetly handed her a card for a walk-in clinic that had agreed to see his referrals at no charge. The small group had grown to about 8 people, and Travis took his time with each one. This wasn't a photo opportunity or charity work for social media. It was simply what he did. He asked about their needs, listened to their concerns, and provided what help he could. To an outside observer, he looked like a social worker or volunteer, not one of the NFL's biggest stars. As Travis distributed the last of his supplies, the conversation turned to lighter topics. Marcus was telling a story about his time in the service that had everyone laughing when the sound of an approaching vehicle caught their attention. A pristine white Cadillac Escalade was making its way down the street, moving faster than the narrow road, and parked cars safely allowed. The luxury SUV looked completely out of place in this neighborhood, its chrome gleaming and paint spotless, despite the recent rain that had left puddles and mud scattered across the poorly maintained street. Behind the wheel sat Victoria Collins, a woman whose life had been defined by privilege and entitlement for so long that she'd forgotten what it felt like to consider others. At 43, Victoria had inherited her wealth rather than earned it, and her primary occupation seemed to be spending money and complaining about how the city wasn't doing enough to clean up neighborhoods like this one. Victoria was running late for her weekly spa appointment, a delay caused by what she considered the inexcusable traffic patterns in this part of town. As she navigated around a delivery truck, her irritation grew at the sight of the group gathered on the sidewalk. "Unbelievable," she muttered to herself, accelerating slightly. "Why doesn't the city do something about this?" What happened next would be captured on video and change multiple lives forever. As Victoria's Escalade approached the group, she noticed a large puddle of muddy water that had accumulated near the curb, the result of poor drainage and recent heavy rain. A conscientious driver would have slowed down or moved to the center of the lane to avoid splashing pedestrians. Victoria saw the puddle. She saw the people. And in a moment that revealed everything about her character, she made a choice. Instead of slowing down or being careful, Victoria actually accelerated. The massive SUV hit the puddle at full speed, sending a wave of cold, dirty water and mud cascading over Travis and the entire group of people he was helping. The impact was immediate and shocking. Travis, who had been crouched down talking to Sarah, was completely soaked from head to toe. The muddy water drenched his hoodie, filled his shoes, and splattered across his face. The care packages he'd been holding were scattered and ruined. But worse than his own discomfort was seeing the people he'd been helping, already struggling with so little, now covered in filthy water and mud. Sarah cried out in shock as the cold water hit her. Marcus stumbled backward, his clean clothes now soaked and dirty. Maria, who had been sitting on a small piece of cardboard to stay off the wet ground, was left sitting in a muddy puddle. Victoria, for her part, didn't even slow down. She glanced in her rearview mirror with mild annoyance, as if the people she'd just drenched were somehow inconvenient obstacles rather than human beings deserving of basic respect. What Victoria didn't know was that Miguel Santo, a college student walking to his part-time job, had recognized Travis immediately. Miguel had been recording a video call with his girlfriend when the incident occurred, and his phone captured everything. "Oh my God," Miguel whispered, ending his call and immediately switching to his camera app. "That's Travis Kelce." As Travis helped Sarah to her feet and checked on the others, Miguel continued recording. The video showed Travis's immediate concern for the homeless individual, his complete lack of anger despite being soaked and humiliated, and his gentle efforts to salvage what supplies he could. "Are you guys okay?" Travis asked, using his own dry clothes to help wipe mud from Sarah's face. "I'm so sorry this happened." "You're sorry?" Marcus shook his head in amazement. "Travis, you're the one who got hit the worst, and you're apologizing to us?" Miguel's video captured this exchange perfectly. Travis Kelce, one of the most famous athletes in America, showing more concern for others than for himself after being deliberately splashed with mud by someone who clearly had no idea who he was. As the group tried to clean themselves off and salvage what they could, Victoria's white Escalade disappeared around the corner, leaving behind only the evidence of her callousness and a video that would soon change everything. Within minutes, Miguel had posted the video to TikTok with the caption, "Rich Lady Splashes Mud on Travis Kelce, helping homeless in KC. She had no idea who he was. This is why we love this man." Saranfuri, show Travis Kelce. Kindness matters. Kansas City. The video began uploading as Travis continued caring for the people around him, completely unaware that his quiet act of community service was about to become a national story, and that Victoria Collins was about to face the consequences of her actions in ways she never could have imagined. Word count, 260 words. Miguel Santos stared at his phone in disbelief as the numbers climbed rapidly. In just 20 minutes, his TikTok video had garnered over 10,000 views. The comments were pouring in faster than he could read them. "OMG, is that really Travis Kelce? This man is a saint. Meanwhile, this rich lady thinks she's too good to share the road. I'm crying. Look how he immediately helps the homeless people instead of caring about himself. Someone find out who this woman. This is disgusting behavior." Miguel watched as Travis finished helping the group, giving out his personal phone number to Marcus and Sarah so they could reach him if they needed anything. Even covered in mud, Travis maintained his dignity and compassion. "Excuse me, Mr. Kelce?" Miguel approached, hesitant. "I'm really sorry. I caught what happened on video. That was incredibly messed up what that lady did." Travis turned, mud still dripping from his hoodie. "Oh, hey, man. Yeah, that wasn't ideal timing." He managed a rueful smile. "But these folks didn't deserve to get caught in the crossfire. Sir, I posted the video on TikTok. I hope that's okay. People need to see how you handled this. And honestly, they need to see how terrible that woman was." Travis nodded thoughtfully. "I appreciate that, but don't make it about me, all right? Make it about treating people with respect, no matter their situation." As Miguel promised to focus on the positive message, neither of them realized the video was about to explode across every social media platform in America. Meanwhile, Victoria Collins sat in the luxurious interior of Serenity Spa, completely oblivious to the digital storm brewing. Her phone was tucked away in her Hermes bag as she enjoyed her weekly facial treatment. "Mrs. Collins," said her esthetician, Priya, "you seem tense today. Rough day?" Victoria sighed dramatically. "Traffic was absolutely horrendous. I swear, the city lets these people just congregate anywhere they want. I had to drive through some awful neighborhood just to avoid construction." Priya, who relied on tips and lived paycheck to paycheck, said nothing but continued the treatment with professional courtesy. Back on the internet, Miguel's video was taking on a life of its own. Chiefs Nation, a popular fan account with 800K followers, had reposted it with the caption, "Our QB's favorite target shows again why he's Kansas City's hero. Rich lady splashes mud on Travis helping homeless." His response? Pure class. "Chart Chiefs Kingdom, chart respect everyone." The repost exploded. Within an hour, it had 500K views and was climbing. Comments flooded in from celebrities, athletes, and thousands of regular people who were moved by Travis's reaction. NFL reporter Adam Schefter tweeted, "This is the Travis Kelce I know. Class act on and off the field." Meanwhile, whoever was driving that Escalade should be ashamed. The story jumped from TikTok to Twitter, then to Instagram and Facebook. Local Kansas City news station KCTV5 picked it up by evening, leading their 6 p.m. broadcast with Chiefs star covered in mud while helping homeless. The anchor, Janet Williams, addressed the camera with barely concealed emotion. "Good evening, I'm Janet Williams. Tonight, we lead with a story that perfectly captures both the best and worst of human nature, right here in Kansas City." The newscast showed Miguel's video, then cut to interviews with Marcus and Sarah, who spoke glowingly about Travis's regular visits to help the homeless community. "He comes by maybe twice a week," Marcus told the reporter. "Never any cameras, never any fuss. Just brings what people need and treats us like we matter. When that car splashed us, his first thought was making sure we were okay." Sarah, who had changed into dry clothes from a local shelter, added, "I've been on the streets for 2 years. Most people look right through us. Travis sees us as people." By 8 p.m., the hashtag #DonderMudgate was trending nationally. The video had been viewed over 2 million times across platforms. Local and national sports media were calling it a perfect example of authentic character versus performative charity. ESPN's Sports Center ran the story as their lead item. Scott Van Pelt's commentary struck a chord with viewers nationwide. "Folks, we talk a lot about character in sport. We debate who's a role model and who isn't, but real character isn't what you do when cameras are rolling and publicists are watching. It's what you do on a random Tuesday when you think nobody's looking." Travis Kelce thought nobody was looking. Turns out, somebody was. And what we saw was beautiful. The contrast couldn't have been starker. Social media detectives, armed with the clear footage of the white Escalade and its distinctive license plate, had begun the process of identifying the driver. Several Reddit threads were dedicated to finding Kansas City Mud Lady. At 9:30 p.m., Victoria finally retrieved her phone from her bag as she prepared to leave the spa. The notifications hit her like a tidal wave. Dozens of missed calls, hundreds of text messages, and thousands of social media notifications. Her heart sank as she opened the first message from her friend Margaret. "Victoria, please tell me this isn't you in this video that's all over the internet." With trembling fingers, Victoria clicked on the link Margaret had sent. Miguel's TikTok video began playing, and Victoria watched in horror as she saw herself deliberately accelerating through the puddle, soaking the group of people. But worse than seeing herself on video was realizing who she had splashed. Even Victoria, who paid little attention to sports, recognized Travis Kelce. His relationship with Taylor Swift had made him a household name even beyond football. The comments on the video were brutal. "Rich entitled woman splashes mud on Travis Kelce helping homeless people." Absolutely disgusting. This woman should be ashamed. Travis is a literal angel, and she treats him like trash. Someone find this woman's name. She needs to be held accountable. The audacity. Travis is out here helping people, and this privileged witch can't even slow down her car. Victoria's hands shook as she scrolled through comment after comment condemning her action. The video had been shared by major news outlets, celebrity account, and was being discussed on every sports talk show in the country. Her phone rang. It was her public relations consultant, David Brennan. "Victoria, we have a problem." David's voice strained. "I've had 17 reporters call me in the last hour asking for comment about a video of you splashing Travis Kelce with mud. Please tell me you have an explanation." Victoria's voice was barely a whisper. "David, I had no idea it was him. I was late for my appointment, and I was frustrated with traffic, and I wasn't thinking." "Victoria, it doesn't matter if it was Travis Kelce or anyone else. You deliberately soaked a group of people, including homeless individuals. The optics are catastrophic." As David explained the full scope of the viral storm, Victoria realized her moment of callousness had been witnessed by millions. Her name was already being shared on social media. People were posting her address, her husband's business information, and calling for boycotts of every organization she was associated. The Kansas City socialite, who had woken up that morning worried only about traffic spa appointment, was now the most hated woman in America, all because she couldn't show basic human decency to people she considered beneath her. And Travis Kelce, who had started the day simply wanting to help his neighbors, had unknowingly provided the world with a masterclass in character and grace under pressure. The real reckoning was just beginning. Word count: 160 words. By Wednesday morning, the Mudgate had become more than just a trending topic. It had evolved into a national conversation about privilege, empathy, and social responsibility. Victoria Collins woke up to find protesters outside her $3.2 million mansion in the exclusive Ward Parkway neighborhood, holding signs reading, "Apologize to Travis" and "Respect the homeless." Victoria peered through her bedroom curtains at the growing crowd. Local news vans lined the street, and reporters were conducting live broadcasts from her front lawn. Her phone buzzed constantly with calls from unknown numbers, journalists seeking comment, angry citizens expressing their disgust, and former friends distancing themselves from the controversy. The situation had escalated far beyond what anyone could have predicted. Victoria's husband, Robert Collins, a prominent real estate developer, was fielding calls from business partners threatening to end their relation. The exclusive country club where Victoria served on the board had called an emergency meeting to discuss her membership. "This is insane," Victoria said to David Brennan, her crisis management consultant, who had arrived at dawn for an emergency strategy session. "It was a mistake. I was having a bad day, and I made a split-second decision that I regret." David looked exhausted. He'd been fielding media calls all night. "Victoria, the video has been viewed over 50 million times. Travis Kelce is beloved by millions of people, and you humiliate while he was helping homeless individuals. The narrative isn't about a bad day, it's about character." The viral video had sparked copycat content across social media. TikTok was flooded with videos of people performing acts of kindness with the hashtag #SayChooseBeLikeTravis. Meanwhile, Victoria had become the symbol of everything people hated about entitled wealth. Cable news shows were dissecting the incident around the clock. Dr. Maria Rodriguez, a sociology professor at UMKC, had appeared on CNN the night before to analyze the broader implication. "What we're seeing in this video is a perfect microcosm of American inequality," Dr. Rodriguez had explained. "You have someone using their wealth as a weapon, quite literally in this case, against the most vulnerable members of society, while someone with equal or greater privilege uses their resources to help. It's a stark reminder that money doesn't determine character." The contrast between Travis's response and Victoria's action had become even more pronounced in the 24 hours since the incident. Travis had quietly returned to the same neighborhood that evening with dry clothes and hot meals for everyone who had been affected, but he'd asked Miguel not to film it. "This isn't about me," Travis had told Miguel. "It's about treating people right, because it's the right thing to do." But Miguel had shared this information in a follow-up video, which only made Travis more beloved and Victoria more reviled. Meanwhile, the Kansas City Chiefs organization had released a statement praising Travis's community involvement. "Travis Kelce embodies the values of our organization and our city. His commitment to helping Kansas City's most vulnerable residents reflects the character that makes him not just a great player, but a great human being." Victoria sat in her home office, staring at her laptop screen as she read article after article about the incident. The New York Times had run an op-ed titled, "When Privilege Becomes Cruelty." The Washington Post's sports section featured a piece called The Travis Kelce Standard, How Athletes Should Use Their Platform. But it was a local Kansas City Star article that hit her the hardest. Reporter Jennifer Walsh had interviewed several homeless individuals who knew Travis personally. "He remembers our name," said Marcus, the veteran Travis had been talking to when Victoria splashed. "He asks about our families, our health, our dreams. When that woman covered us in mud, Travis didn't get angry at her. He got worried about us. That tells you everything you need to know about who he is and who she is." Sarah, still recovering from her worsening cough, had been especially poignant. "I've been invisible for 2 years. Rich people like that woman, they drive by us every day and act like we're not even human. Travis sees us. He treats us with dignity. What she did to him, she did to all of us. But the way he handled it, that's why he's special." Victoria closed the laptop and buried her face in her hand. The weight of her actions was becoming undeniable. This wasn't just about a moment of poor judgment. It was about a pattern of behavior that had led her to dehumanize people she considered beneath her. Her phone rang. It was her daughter Emma, a junior at Northwestern University. "Mom, are you okay? This is all over campus. People are asking if I'm related to the woman in the video." Victoria's heart broke hearing the shame in her daughter's voice. "Emma, honey, I'm so sorry. I made a terrible mistake. Mom, I've watched the video a dozen times. It doesn't look like a mistake. It looks like you deliberately drove through that puddle to splash those people." Emma's voice was quiet but firm. "I'm embarrassed to be your daughter right now." No. The call ended with Emma hanging up, leaving Victoria alone with the full weight of her action. She looked around her luxury home, the marble countertops, the designer furniture, the original artwork, and realized that all of her material wealth couldn't protect her from the consequences of her character. Outside, the crowd was growing larger. Victoria could hear chanting, "Apologize to Travis! Apologize to Travis!" David returned from taking calls in the kitchen. "Victoria, we need to discuss your option. The story isn't going away. If anything, it's getting bigger. Good Morning America wants you for an interview. The Ellen Show is interesting, but honestly, I think our best option is a sincere, public apology." "What kind of apology?" "Something genuine, something that acknowledges the harm you caused not just to Travis, but to the homeless individuals who are trying to get help. Something that shows you understand this was about more than just bad timing." Victoria stared out the window at the protest. Among them, she noticed, were several people who appeared to be homeless themselves, holding signs that read, "We are human too," and "Respect and dignity for all." For the first time since the incident, Victoria felt something deeper, embarrassment or fear for her reputation. She felt genuine shame for how she had treated people who were already struggling, and genuine remorse for attacking someone who was trying to help them. "David," she said slowly, "what if we did more than just apologize? What if we tried to make this right?" David raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean? Travis was there helping people. What if I actually learned something from this? What if I used this as an opportunity to do better?" "Victoria, that's going to require more than just words. People are going to be skeptical of anything that looks like a publicity stunt." Victoria nodded, understanding the challenge ahead. She had spent years living in a bubble of privilege, insulated from the struggles of ordinary people. One moment of cruelty had burst that bubble, but maybe, just maybe, it could also be the beginning of something better. The reckoning was far from over, but for the first time since the video went viral, Victoria was thinking about someone other than herself. Word count, 1,260 words. Travis Kelce sat in his living room at 6 a.m., coffee in hand, scrolling through the endless stream of social media posts about the incident. His phone had been buzzing non-stop for 48 hours. Interview requests from major networks, calls from his agent and publicist, and thousands of supportive messages from fans around the world. But Travis wasn't interested in capitalizing on the attention. Instead, he was focused on something else entirely: the annual Hope Community Center fundraiser that he'd been planning for months. The event, scheduled for the following Saturday, was designed to raise money for homeless service and job training programs in Kansas City. "This might actually be perfect timing," Travis said to his assistant, Maria, who was helping him coordinate the event logistics. "All this attention, maybe we can use it to actually help people." What Travis didn't know was that Victoria Collins was having a very similar conversation with her crisis management team at that exact moment. "I want to attend the fundraiser," Victoria announced to David Brennan and her husband Robert who had joined the morning strategy session. I want to publicly apologize to Travis and to the people who were affected by my action. David shook his head immediately. Victoria, that's an incredibly risky move. If the apology comes across as insincere or self-serving, it could make things exponentially worse. The internet doesn't forgive easily. Robert, who had been mostly silent during the crisis, finally spoke up. Honey, I've been thinking about this whole situation. Maybe this is a wake-up call for both of us. When was the last time we actually did something meaningful for our community? Victoria looked at her husband in surprise. In their 20 years of marriage, Robert had always been focused on business and wealth accumulation. Community service had never been a priority for either of them. I've been reading about Travis Kelce's work, Robert continued. This isn't just some celebrity charity photo op. He's been quietly helping people for years. Maybe we could learn something from that. David remained skeptical. Even if your intentions are genuine, the optics are challenging. People are going to assume it's damage control. Then we don't make it about the optics, Victoria said firmly. We make it about actually helping. David, I want you to reach out to Travis Kelce's team, not for an interview or a photo op. I want to ask if there's a way I can contribute to his fundraiser without making it about me. Meanwhile, Travis was dealing with his own PR team's suggestions about how to handle the situation. Travis, this could be huge for your brand, his publicist, Jessica, explained during a conference call. You're trending worldwide. We could leverage this into endorsement deals, speaking engagements, maybe even a book deal about kindness and community service. Travis sighed. Jess, I appreciate the business advice, but that's not what this is about. Those people I was helping don't need me to write a book about kindness. They need actual help. Can we focus on making the fundraiser as successful as possible? When David Brennan called Travis's team later that afternoon, the conversation was delicate and carefully worded. Mr. Kelce, David began, my client, Victoria Collins, would like to make a substantial donation to your upcoming fundraiser. She also hopes there might be an opportunity for her to apologize publicly for her action. Travis's agent, Marcus Wilson, was immediately suspicious. This sounds like damage control. Travis isn't interested in being used as a prop for someone's reputation rehabilitation. I understand the skepticism, David replied, but Mrs. Collins is prepared to make a significant financial commitment. We're talking about a 6-figure donation, and she's willing to do whatever would be most helpful for the people you're trying to serve. When Marcus relayed the conversation to Travis, the response was immediate. Set up a call, Travis said. I want to talk to her directly. The phone call between Travis and Victoria took place that evening. Victoria had been dreading the conversation, but she knew it was necessary. Mrs. Collins, Travis began, his voice calm but serious. I'm not going to pretend that what happened didn't hurt. Not just me, the people I was trying to help. Some of those folks are already dealing with enough without being humiliated by someone who couldn't be bothered to slow down. Victoria's voice was barely above a whisper. Mr. Kelce, I know there's nothing I can say that will undo what I did. I was having a bad day, I was frustrated, and I took it out on people who didn't deserve it, including you. Can I ask you something? Travis said. When you saw us standing there, what went through your mind? Victoria was quiet for a long moment. Honestly, I was annoyed. I thought you were just in the way. I didn't see you as people with lives, stories, and feelings. I saw you as an inconvenience. The honesty of her answer surprised Travis. At least you're being real about it. I want to do better, Victoria continued. I want to contribute to your fundraiser, and I want to apologize publicly. But I also want to understand what you're actually trying to accomplish with your community work. Maybe I could learn something. Travis considered her words carefully. Mrs. Collins, I'm not interested in helping you fix your image, but if you're genuinely interested in helping people, then we can talk. Over the next hour, Travis explained his philosophy of community service. It wasn't about grand gestures or publicity. It was about consistency, dignity, and meeting people where they are. He talked about Marcus's military service and how PTSD had contributed to his homelessness. He described Sarah's struggles with health care and housing. He explained how small acts of respect and kindness could restore someone's sense of humanity. The thing is, Travis said, these folks don't need saving. They need support. They need to be treated like human beings instead of problems to be solved or ignored. Victoria found herself taking notes, genuinely engaged in a way she hadn't been in years. If you're serious about making amends, Travis continued, Here's what I'd suggest. Don't just write a check. Come to the community center, meet the people you affected, learn their names, stories, and if you're going to apologize, do it because you understand the harm you caused, not because it'll look good on social media. When the call ended, Victoria sat in her office for a long time, processing the conversation. Travis Kelce could have hung up on her, refused her donation, or used the opportunity to publicly shame her further. Instead, he'd offered her a chance to learn and grow. For the first time in days, Victoria felt something other than shame and fear. She felt hope that maybe this terrible mistake could become an opportunity to become a better person. The fundraiser was 5 days away. Victoria had that long to decide whether she was ready to step outside her comfort zone and genuinely confront the consequences of her privilege. The whole world would be watching. Word count: 1,260 words. Saturday afternoon arrived with crisp October air and an energy that Travis had never experienced at one of his community events. The Hope Community Center's parking lot was packed beyond capacity, with cars lining the surrounding streets for blocks. Local news vans occupied an entire corner, and Travis could see reporters conducting live broadcasts from multiple locations around the venue. The fundraiser had originally been planned as a modest community gathering with an expected attendance of maybe 200 people. Thanks to the viral video and the national attention surrounding Victoria Collins's promised appearance, over 1,500 people had shown up. The event had outgrown its original space and spilled into the adjacent park. Travis stood near the main entrance, greeting attendees and directing traffic, when he spotted a familiar white Escalade approaching slowly down the street. His stomach tightened slightly. Despite their phone conversation and careful planning, he wasn't sure how this would play out. Victoria Collins parked several blocks away and walked to the event with David Brennan and her husband Robert. She had chosen her outfit carefully: simple jeans, a modest sweater, and comfortable shoes. No designer label, no expensive jewelry. She carried a single folder containing her prepared remarks and a check that represented the largest charitable donation she had ever made. As they approached the community center, Victoria felt the weight of hundreds of eyes on her. Some attendees pointed and whispered. Others held up phones to record her arrival. The crowd parted as she walked, creating an uncomfortable corridor of silence. Travis met her at the entrance with a calm nod. "Mrs. Collins, thank you for coming. Thank you for giving me this opportunity," Victoria replied, her voice steadier than she felt. Travis led Victoria, Robert, and David to a quiet area near the registration table. "Before we do anything public, I'd like you to meet some people," he said simply. He guided them to where Marcus was helping to organize donated clothing. The veteran looked up as they approached, his expression guarded but not hostile. "Marcus," Travis said, "I'd like you to meet Victoria Collins. She wanted to apologize personally for what happened the other day." Marcus studied Victoria's face for a long moment. Victoria felt her throat tighten as she looked into the eyes of one of the people she had humiliated. "Mr. Marcus," she began, her voice catching slightly, "I owe you an apology that's long overdue. What I did was inexcusable. I treated you and the others like you didn't matter, like you weren't even human. I was wrong, and I'm deeply sorry." Marcus listened without interruption. When she finished, he extended his hand. "I appreciate you saying that, ma'am, and I appreciate you being here today." The interaction was captured by several phones and cameras, but Victoria barely noticed. She was focused entirely on the dignity and grace that Marcus showed in accepting her apology. Travis then introduced Victoria to Sarah, who was volunteering despite still recovering from her illness, to Maria, the single mother who had been working with social services to find stable housing, to James, the former construction worker who was 6 months into a job training program. Each conversation was brief but meaningful. Victoria listened to their story, learned about their challenges and their hopes, and began to understand them as individuals rather than statistics or inconvenience. After about 30 minutes of these personal interactions, Travis approached the makeshift stage that had been set up in the center of the venue. "Friends," he called out, his voice carrying easily across the crowd, "thank you all for being here today. This event was always about supporting our neighbors who need help, but this week became something bigger." The crowd quieted, sensing the significance of the moment. "We've all seen the video of what happened Monday afternoon," Travis continued. "It was hurtful, and it was wrong. But it also gave us an opportunity to talk about how we treat each other in this community. He gestured toward Victoria, who was standing near the stage with her husband. Mrs. Victoria Collins asked to be here today. She wanted to apologize publicly for her actions, and she wanted to support the people she affected with her behavior. Victoria stepped forward, her prepared remarks suddenly feeling inadequate. The crowd was completely silent as she approached the microphone. 5 days ago, she began, her voice shaking slightly. I did something that I will regret for the rest of my life. I deliberately drove through a puddle to splash mud on Travis Kelce and several homeless individuals who were simply trying to get help. The honesty of her admission sent a murmur through the crowd. I want to be clear about something, Victoria continued, gaining strength. This wasn't a mistake or an accident. I was angry about traffic, frustrated with my day, and I took it out on people who had done nothing wrong. I saw human beings and chose to treat them as obstacles rather than people deserving of respect. She paused, looking directly at Marcus, Sarah, and the others she had met earlier. Marcus, Sarah, Maria, James, I'm sorry. You deserved better from me and from anyone else who shares this community with you. Victoria reached into her folder and pulled out a check. I'm donating $500,000 to the Hope Community Center today. But more importantly, I'm committing to showing up, not for photo ops or publicity, but to learn and to help in whatever way I can. The crowd's reaction was mixed. Some applauded cautiously, others remained silent, processing her words. Travis stepped back to the microphone. It costs nothing to be kind, he said, repeating the message he'd posted on social media earlier in the week. Treat everyone with respect, no matter what you're driving, what you're wearing, or where you come from. As the formal program continued, something remarkable. The initial tension in the crowd began to ease. Victoria didn't retreat to a VIP area or surround herself with handlers. Instead, she worked alongside volunteers, serving food, organizing donations, and having genuine conversations with attendees. When a local news reporter approached her for an interview, Victoria surprised everyone by declining. This day isn't about me, she said simply. It's about the people we're here to support. By the end of the event, the fundraiser had raised over $800,000, more than 4 times Travis's original goal. But the real success was measured in smaller moments. Victoria learning to fold clothes from a homeless shelter volunteer, Marcus teaching her about the challenges veterans face, Sarah sharing her dreams of getting back into nursing. As the crowd dispersed and volunteers began cleaning up, Travis found Victoria sitting on a bench with Sarah, deep in conversation about healthcare access for homeless individuals. How are you feeling? Travis asked Victoria as Sarah excused herself to help with cleanup. Victoria looked around at the community center, where dozens of people were still working together to pack up supplies and clean the venue. Humbled, she said, honest, and grateful. I thought I was coming here to fix my reputation. Instead, I think I'm starting to fix myself. 6 months later, Victoria had become a regular volunteer at the Hope Community Center. She had quietly funded 3 new job training programs and had successfully lobbied the city council for improved homeless service. She no longer drove her Escalade through the neighborhood. Instead, she walked, stopping to talk with people she now knew by name. The viral video that had made her the most hated woman in America had become the catalyst for genuine change. Travis's response to her cruelty had shown her what grace looked like. The community's willingness to forgive had taught her about redemption. And Marcus, the veteran who had been splashed with mud on that October afternoon, summed it up best during a local news interview. People can change if they really want. Mrs. Collins proved that. Sometimes the worst moments in our lives can become the best things that ever happened to us, if we're willing to learn from them. The story that began with an act of cruelty had become a testament to the power of accountability, forgiveness, and genuine change. In Kansas City, kindness had indeed cost nothing, but its impact had been priceless.